Welcome back and to some other stories. And the United Kingdom is set to send some of Ghana's crown jewels back home 150 years after looting them from the court of the Asante king. The gold artifacts will be loaned to Asante Kingdom following a 3-year agreement with Otumfuo to the second Asante Henry.
32 looted golden artifacts displayed in UK museums have been scheduled for return to Ghana. Most of the items which are to be loaned to its custodial owners were taken during the 19th century wars between the British and the Asante. The items included a golden pipe, sword of state and gold badges worn by officials charged with cleansing the soul of the king. Both the UK and the Asante Hene have reached a 3-year agreement where the loaned artifact will be displayed in the Menshire Palace Museum as part of the Asante Hene Silver Jubilee celebration. The agreement is subject to 3 years extension, after which they will be repatriated to the UK museums. The UK is deliberately refusing to permanently return stolen artifacts in their custody to their countries of origin, hence the enactment of legislation to protect them. The decision has been met with criticisms from a section of the Ghanaian public. The Asante gold artifacts are the ultimate symbol of the Asante royal government and are believed to be invested with the spirit of former Asante kings.
So let's hear the backstory, because the man who led the negotiation with the UK is Ivor Ajimandua. He joins me on the telephone for some discussions on this. Mr. Ajimandua, you're welcome to the pause here on JoyNews. Mr. Ajimandua, if you can unmute for me.
Hello?
Yes, Mr. Ajimandua, thank you very much for joining us here on the pause on JoyNews. And it's good to see you. The last time we actually spent time together was, I guess, 2023 or 2013 or 2014, it's the Shells. Is that right?
Yes, it's been a while.
It's been a while.
You've been following these issues for some time now.
Yeah.
So I do remember our Seychelles encounter.
Yes, so it's good to see you and a Happy New Year.
Good to see you. Happy New Year to you too.
So how long did the negotiation last?
It took 9 months from May of last year to recently 2 weeks ago or so.
So now the talk is over. When are we likely to see these artifacts back in the country?
It should be sometime in April, between April and May.
All right. So how do you react to a section of the public who feel the UK should rather return the stolen items in their custody rather than what we are hearing that you are loaning it for us for 3 years? This belongs to the Asante Kingdom, if you like.
Yes, I think it's a legitimate thing for people to ask. These were looted items, 1874, 150 years old items. So there is a form of a legitimacy when people question the basis of these objects coming home and coming home as loaned items. So it's legitimate, but then we've been talking about these issues of the objects for over 50 years, half a century, made requests over the years, negotiated at some point, and we're still where we were until recently that we reached this agreement. So those have been the issues. We have always had the historical antecedents on our side, but then there is the 1983 laws of antiquity in the UK by the House of Commons, sanctioned by the House of Lords, that make it very difficult for objects to be permanently taken back to the countries of their origin. And this had always been the constraining factor that sort of stood between our position and the British government. And it's not just us, but all the former colonies and all the geographic areas that have objects and other art instruments with the British Museum.
So therefore, after 3 years, it will be taken back to the United Kingdom?
The agreement is 3 years, renewable by another 3 years. But even after the maximum of 6 years, you can still negotiate for extension. So it's not just 3 years, renewable by another 3 years. There can still be negotiation for extension beyond the 6 years.
But it's interesting. I mean, look at this scenario. You stole something from me. I managed to identify my item with you. I'm taking it back. You're telling me that I'm giving it to you. You give me back after so and so years.
Yeah, it's been the case, and it's not just about this particular case. That is why the UNESCO conventions came about in 1970, and there's been subsequent amendments to these UN conventions that over the years looked at these issues that we are battling with. Objects taken from countries during colonial rule, objects taken from countries in the course of wars, and many others. So it goes beyond a specific case, and it's more international in terms of negotiations, in terms of settlement of objects, or what's become popular as the restitution or the ascension of objects.
Are we able to put value on the items?
There has been value on the items, but it's very difficult to talk about these because it depends on who the valuer is and how the valuation is done. Some will look at the historical antecedent of it, going back to 115 years, and others will not. They will look at other aspects of the object. So it's different. The valuation could be different, and it's not by using the particular formula.
And please correct me if I'm wrong, but these were put in a British museum. I don't know whether people paid money to as visitors to this museum to have a look at it. If they are returning, would that come with some kind of monetary compensation as well?
The thing about the British Museum is you enter free. Okay. You don't pay any money when you go to the British Museum.
Okay.
It's a business strategy they adopted. And why people are sometimes very worried about this policy is there are millions of objects in this museum from all over the world. Many of these objects in the museum haven't been exhibited for decades. In our case, even for over a century. And the question is, if you are not exhibiting them, they are not part of your permanent collection, your permanent display. It means that the value you attach to these objects are not very high. So why don't you give these objects back to the owners who place a bigger value on the objects? And that hasn't also happened for many years. So it's very difficult to understand. And the one reason why some feel that they want to have possession has to do mainly with the imperial history of England and the UK as a former global power. The ascension of these objects, for some, would deprive them of that imperial feeling of the past. And so they will prefer to, at least the mentality of empire will stick with them. And that is how some have argued or seen the situation. Otherwise, you are not making money out of this.
Right.
You have them in storage, you preserving them using very high-level conservation methods, which means that you are investing in these objects, putting in lots of money.
My final question.
But at the same time, you are not making much out of it.
Great. My final question before I let you go. How excited is the Otumfuo about this, and would there be a special program to welcome the artifacts back?
I think they will be, when they do get in, they will come in a particular style. The directors of the British Museum, the Victoria and Albert, and some other UK museum directors plan visiting Kumasi for the first time officially between April and May. And this is not just about the objects, but a bigger framework for cultural cooperation between Mensia and these.
And I guess it is coinciding with Otumfuo's 25th anniversary on the throne.
It's coinciding with that. It's coinciding with the 150th anniversary. It's also coinciding with the centenary of Prempe's return from exile.
All right. Mr. Ajimendua, if I'm allowed to call Professor Ajimendua, thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you. And for your interest in these issues as well.
Right.
Thank you.
All right. Let's stay a little longer on this matter because monarchical historian at the Manshia Palace, Safo Kantanka, is well abreast with issues regarding the subject, and he joins me on the telephone line for a chat. Nana Safo Kantanka, you're welcome to the pulse.
Hello.
Nana, you're welcome.
Thank you.
So tell me the significance of these artifacts. 150 years.
Yeah. They have lots of values, what you may call significance, and as long as they exist, the significance are the same and will remain the same. We have physical value, seeing the thing for yourself, as the visual artist will see and admire. That is one value. Then we have the spiritual value. When we talk of spiritual value, we are talking about the relationship between something and our ancestors. That is between us and our ancestors, and all the sub-objects that we use and all the regalia that we use have special relation to us and to our ancestors. So it's of a spiritual value. Then it's of moral value. Moral because our form of art speaks volumes. So we have people who have to use special types of artworks. To dress, we need special art forms. To work within. So this is moral. You can tell from who is using what. There's the hierarchical order of the community, and whoever is using anything. You can tell from the moral works. You can also tell from the commercial aspect. When we put them at the museum, people pay to go and see. And paying to go and see is of spiritual, of physical, and of commercial significance. It also has an educational significance. That is the history and philosophy behind our art forms give us a lot of education. It also has some legal aspects. That is the laws governing the art forms. It is for this reason that they say they are loaning it to us. So it is ours, to some extent, it's ours. Your own, and the law says it is not yours because it is a war booty. So here, we also engage ourselves in the legal aspect of things. We also have the administrative aspect. Administration, because all the art forms are shared among special people within the Asante community or within the chieftaincy system. And there, everybody pays particular attention to whichever form of art and the way they have to manage its existence. So that is also administrative. There are very many other things that we can deduce or learn from these art forms. Those who carry the art forms away are not very conversant with the very meanings, the history, philosophy behind the art forms they are carrying. It is only lying there to tell them a little history about themselves, that they fought wars and they conquered things. It is also something to tell them that they are superior because they fought and seized these items. So to them, of very little value, but to us, of a very high value.
To you about the spiritual significance of this to the Asante Kingdom.
Yes.
Yes, Nana, so I was just coming to ask you about the spiritual significance of the items to the Asante Kingdom.
Yes, the spiritual significance clear. They had spiritual significance before they were taken away. And it still remains with the artifacts. The spiritual significance remain with the artifacts. spiritual because we know when to choose what types of art to use to decorate our body. And it communicates, a form of communication, spiritual communication to our spiritual world.
All right. Right. So I guess then we all have to wait for the items to be brought back into the country. And from what Mr. Ajumandua says, between now and May, we will be waiting for it. Thank you very much, Nana Safo Kantanka. Is a historian with the Manshia Palace, explaining the spiritual significance of the artifacts that the UK government has decided to loan to the Asante Kingdom after taking it away 150 years ago. This is the pause. We'll take a short break.